You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It's time to wake up with the Morning Boys on Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
Good Thursday morning, and welcome into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It is the Morning Boys with Ryan Hickey here, right with you on this gorgeous Thursday morning. We appreciate you tuning in and making the early start to your holiday weekend if today's the last day you're working, or maybe, hey, if you're really living the good life, if you're really having a job that, gives you a ton of vacation time, maybe your holiday weekend's already started. Either way, if you're tuning in, we do appreciate listening and joining us right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. A great show for you planned. As like I said, hopefully everyone has a happy early July 4th weekend. Stay safe, and please wear a mask wherever you go. As you can see, the effects of not wearing a mask in some states compared to the effect of what happens if you do wear a mask. For the most part, there is a difference, and I don't think I could speak for everyone when I say this. The last thing any of us want to do right now is go back into lockdown, shut things down, and go in reverse. Hopefully, we just keep on pushing forward. So hopefully, whatever you're doing this weekend, stay safe, please, but also, try to look at not only for yourself but for others as we continue to hopefully claw out of this pandemic, at least salvage, what is the second half of summer here as we enter into the second half of 2020, and hopefully we can, let's just say this, put it lightly, to do a lot better than we did the first half of 2020, that is for sure. But we are in July, I should say, new month. Hopefully that means, we can put the first 6 months behind us and we can get turning towards some positives here and kind of salvage what has just been an unforgettable, to say the least, 2020. That is for sure. But again, we do appreciate you tuning in, and we do have a great, fun show for you here heading into the holiday weekend. Antonio Brown, a ton of talent, but someone that just can't get it all together on the field and both off the field, is back in the news as a video circulated of him working out with Russell Wilson yesterday. Should your team sign Antonio Brown, would you trust Antonio Brown to be on your team? Because the talent, no doubt. He's one of the best wide receivers in the game, maybe arguably the hardest wide receiver to cover in the game. Speed, his ability to run routes, his quickness in and out of cuts. He is a great wide receiver, a generational type wide receiver in a league that, as you see, there's a ton of great wide receivers out there. He would definitely, obviously, boost anyone's chances of going to the Super Bowl. Two teams are interested in bringing him on. We'll tell you which teams those are, and if it's worth the risk of bringing him on, that's for sure. Obviously, on Sunday night, Cam Newton signed with the Patriots. Monday, we talked a lot about what that means. I pumped the brakes. I am not really bullish at all on the Patriots, and I still believe week one we'll see Jarrett Stidham under center and not Cam Newton. But part of the reaction, or I should say part of the overreaction I saw on social media Sunday night and Monday morning was that not only did Cam Newton, really make the Patriots contenders, but, they gave him the AFC East crown yet again. And outside of the Chiefs and the Ravens, which I think, no one's going to argue, those are the two elites in the AFC. The Patriots are right there. They were the one team that, okay, if the Chiefs and the Ravens aren't going to have an AFC championship matchup, who's going to be the one team and kind of spoil the party? Who's going to be the one team to upset them and get rid of them? A lot of people are putting that on the Patriots. Tell you, let's put the brakes a little bit and really decide who is the third best team in the AFC? Who is the one team that could spoil a Chiefs-Ravens AFC title game? We'll tell you which team that is at 9:40, top of the second hour, top of the 10 o'clock on the East Coast hour. Daniel Kaplan of The Athletic reported yesterday that the NFL is considering, if you're a fan and want to go to a game, having you sign a waiver in order to enter the stadium, basically preventing any COVID-19 lawsuits. We'll tell you, or I'll ask, I would love to know, do you feel comfortable going to an NFL game if you have to sign a waiver? Obviously, 1020, we'll have 2020 or Apocalypse. One playoff spot left. I'll tell you again, we have a new playoff format set. 9 tickets are punched to the playoffs. We're looking for one more ticket to get to 10. We'll tell you who's going to be competing and what the playoff format will look like. And finally, to end the show, MLB, along with other sports leagues, but MLB specifically, was talking a few days ago, a few general managers were talking about how they, because of HIPAA laws, aren't able to reveal the names of players who test positive for coronavirus. I'll tell you why, them and other leagues should really try to be as transparent as possible and really, should try to look into it and encourage our players to come out and publicly say who is positive and who's not. I think that will go a long way in helping stopping the spread and helping keeping these sports leagues up and running. Because I think, the question really is at this point, are the leagues going to resume? That's, almost a definite. The NBA is going to try to tip off. MLB, I think, is going to try to have a season. And same thing in the NHL. It's can they keep it going once they start? And I think at least being transparent and saying who's positive, who's negative, I think will go a long way in keeping those leagues from shutting down too early. But speaking of kind of having leagues shut down, speaking of leagues trying to resume amidst the pandemic, especially now, specifically look at the NBA, trying to resume in a state that has just a COVID spike that is going through the roof these last few weeks, and that's the NBA. And I want to kind of get on Adam Silver here because he talked on Tuesday with Time Magazine, and he had two quotes to two different questions that I thought were very hypocritical, and for all the good that Adam Silver has done, right? I think it's easy to say you took a poll right now of the four major sports commissioners, Rob Manfred, Adam Silver, Roger Goodell, and Gary Bettman, who's the best commissioner out of the four. I think by far, it's not even a competition, Adam Silver's going to win. And as he should. He's done a lot of great things with the NBA. He's taken the NBA from, I would say, in the realm of baseball to skyrocketed past baseball to now it's NFL, and then firmly behind the NFL is the NBA in terms of sporting landscape and in terms of relevancy. And I think he's doing, for the most part, when you look at the plans to resume, whether it's the NHL having hub cities, whether it's MLB keeping a regional schedule where they're only going to keep teams in their own time zones, for the most part, I do think out of all the plans to resume, the NBA's is the best, has the best chance of succeeding. I think the way the NBA has gone out of their way to basically try to do everything possible to ensure that these players are not coming in contact with the virus, I think for the most part seems pretty sound. But I want to get him out on Silver here because, like I said, for all the good that he's done, for the position that he's put the league into, where for the most part they should be really able to resume pretty easily, and for the most part all the precautions they put in should keep the player safe and should lead to the season ending and us crowning a champion at the end of the year. But Adam Silver, I think, is setting a bad example in two ways. Number one, he was talking about the bubble, quote unquote. Right? And as we know, it's not a bubble because there's going to be Disney workers, hotel workers that are coming in and coming out. The players can't leave the bubble. Anyone that's going to come close in contact with the players, staff, coaches, referees, anyone at Disney that's going to be very close interacting with these players is not allowed to leave the Disney campus. So once you're down there, basically you're down there, and outside again for a few hotel workers that are going to clean up the players' hotel rooms once a week. Everyone else that's on the campus is going to stay down there. But Adam Silver he was asked by Time Magazine when he was talking to them on Tuesday, well, what's your plan? As the commissioner of the league, as the commissioner of a league that is trying their best to resume and finish the season, are you going to be going down there the whole time? Are you going to be coming in, coming out? And Adam Silver said this. I want to read you his quote because I think it really undercuts what the whole operation of Disney is going about. So this was his answer when he was asked what his plan is going to be, if he's going to be down in Orlando the entire time or not. He said, quote, "We have an arrangement there where I'll just call it a back door into the campus, where you can almost think of it as different tiers of protection. That people immediately around the players, certainly anyone who's going to be playing, who's going to be on the court with them, whether it be a referee, a coach, a trainer, anyone who needs to come, in essence, within 10 feet of a player will be following a certain protocol in terms of daily testing and protection. But then there's a group of us who will be able to come into the community, get tested when we get into the community, but essentially remain far more than 10 feet away from the players, and therefore be able to come in and out," end quote. Long way of saying basically he's going to come in, he's going to go out, he's going to come back in, he's going to come back out. Adam Silver is going to go and come as he pleases throughout the entire 3 months that the NBA is going to be down in Orlando. Hopefully, if they can resume safely and, again, crown a champion, get through the finals, and name an NBA champion for 2020. But to me, hearing him going to go and come as he pleases, it undercuts the integrity of what the NBA is trying to pull off here. Right? The overall goal of creating this pseudo bubble in Orlando is to make sure that the players, the staff, the coaches, anyone who is going to be involved with the game itself, that they are secluded from the outside world, essentially, right? That is essentially what a bubble is. And again, I understand it's not truly a bubble because there's people coming in and coming out. But they're going to try to limit those amount of people coming in and coming out. So for the most part, if you're there, you can't leave. So the goal is to keep the players, the staff, the coaches, the trainers, everyone involved as far away from the virus as possible. And as we know, the virus is basically knocking on the front door. The virus is on the porch here of this Disney campus as Orange County, again, the county that Disney is in, continues to see rapid spikes of coronavirus the last few weeks. So they have these strict rules where you're not allowed to leave the Disney campus. NBA instituted an anonymous hotline which players can snitch on each other if they see a player not following the rules that they're supposed to. They went as so far as creating bracelets to alert players if they are standing too close to someone. The bracelet will sense it and an alarm will go off saying basically, hey, you're not 6 feet with someone, move away, get farther away from someone. They're going through all these steps. They're putting all these precautions to make sure at the end of the day, these players are as far away from the virus as possible and they won't be exposed to anyone who's been exposed to the virus. So then for Adam Silver to basically say he's going to come in, come out, come in, come out. I understand that maybe, sure, he's not going to be fist pumping LeBron James, or he's not going to be, giving a hug to Mike D'Antoni. But he's hurting the overall effort, the overall work of the Disney campus. Because guess what? I understand Adam Silver's going to, be safe, and he says he's not going to get, within 10 feet or any closer to the players or coaches. But let's just say this. What if in flying back and forth, he's exposed to the virus? And as we know, most of the people exposed could be asymptomatic. So Adam Silver could theoretically get exposed to the virus elsewhere, fly down, enter the bubble, get tested, get negative initially, have some symptoms, not come about for a few days. And let's just say they don't find out that he has the virus until a few hours after he lands and he's been to campus. He could secondhand or thirdhand transmit the virus to a player. If he talks to a staff member, that staff member eventually goes back to talk to another staff member. That staff member is close to the players. As we know, this virus spreads, and it spreads very quickly. That's the most frustrating part about the entire virus. The ability for it to spread so quickly, the ability for it to spread quietly, essentially. Because for the first few days, if you're asymptomatic, you have no clue you have it. You don't really feel sick. And if there's a false negative test, or again, if Adam Silver is exposed to the virus and doesn't show up on the test initially, he is really threatening the entire sanctity, the entire integrity of the bubble that's created. So to me, it sends a bad message that he's going to come in and come out as he pleases. Because if you're a player right now, where you're secluded in this campus, where you're not even allowed, this is how strict they are, you're not allowed to go into another player's room. Think about that. So despite you following all the rules, despite you really not leaving the campus or being exposed to anyone that has left the campus, you're not even allowed to enter your teammate's room. That's how strict and that's how much they're trying to keep players away and trying to limit their exposure as much as possible. But here's Adam Silver coming in and out as he pleases. I think it undercuts everything that's going on. I think it sends a really bad message that the leader, the guy who's implementing all these rules, trying to keep players safe, taking them away from their families, is now all of a sudden, not practicing what he preaches. And if you leave the campus, you have to get tested again, you have to be quarantined until it comes back negative. There's big repercussions if you leave and get caught leaving the Disney campus. But here's Adam Silver flying in, flying out, no problem. I think it sends a bad message from the leadership standpoint. If he's going to try to restart the plan, I personally think he should be down there the whole time. That's what great leadership is. You lead by example. Do as I do, not as I say. So I think it sets a bad example. It's a bad precedent for Adam Silver to be flying in and flying out as he pleases, while also at the same time saying, you can't leave, you can't leave, you can't leave. I think it sends a bad message personally. And there's another thing that Adam Silver said, and I think really was head-scratching and really is sort of like, who are you trying to fool here? Because also in this Time magazine interview that he had on Tuesday, he was asked about the restart. Is it about money? What's the financial motivation? What's the financial impact of restarting the year? Like basically, how much does money motivate this restart? And Adam Silver said this, quote, "It doesn't come into play in terms of dollars and cents because, frankly, it's not all that economical for us to play in this campus. It's extremely expensive," end quote. And he's right. It is expensive. There's numbers floated out last night. The cost of the entire Disney restart plan is about $150 million. For testing, for courts, for hotel rooms, for everything that's going to be involved, it's about $150 million for this 3-month Disney campus, basically exclusive grounds that they have on the Disney campus. So yeah, sure, that's a lot of money. I mean, $150 million is nothing to sneeze at. But let's look quickly, let's just take a step back and look at the money lost if the NBA doesn't resume because of the virus, the NBA doesn't resume because players don't feel safe, whatever reason the NBA can't get off the ground, or if they do try to resume and can't finish the season. NBA players would lose salary-wise a total of $1.2 billion combined if the season isn't resumed. Good chunk of change, right? Obviously, everyone around the league won't get another paycheck if the league doesn't resume. And the NBA itself, so the players will lose $1.2 billion total in salary. The NBA itself would lose $2 billion in revenue. If the playoffs aren't played, the NBA would lose $900 million just from the national TV contracts alone. So ESPN and TNT, they are paying the NBA $900 million to basically broadcast the playoffs. Playoffs aren't played, aren't finished, you're not getting that $900 million. So all of a sudden now, you look at the $150 that it costs, $150 million that it costs the NBA to put on this entire restart in Orlando. All of a sudden, that's pennies on the dollar to what you are at risk of losing if you don't resume the season. So I don't understand why Adam Silver is trying to not make it about the money. That's all it's about. I mean, let's be honest here. If it wasn't about the money, if it was about anything else, about not wanting to have a season that's not finished, about trying to deliver a product to the fans where in a time where there's no other distractions, right? Obviously, as we know, there's no sports going around. There's no real concerts. There's no plays. There's no real even TV shows that are coming out right now. So there's a lack of content out there when everyone is really craving for content. We can't still do much. The summer, you're not taking the vacations that you normally do. So there's a vacuum there where we could, looking for a void to fill that. Sports absolutely do fill that. But do we really think, are we that naive to think that the NBA or any other sports league cares so much about the fan, cares so much about us to where they said, we're going to risk everything here. We're going to put on this huge production. We're going to spend all this money. Players are going to risk their health so that the fan at home, working the 9 to 5, the fan who loves the NBA can go home at night and watch a game and forget what's going on in the world. And let's not be naive here. $900 million is lost from national TV contracts that the playoffs aren't played. $2 billion in revenue is lost, if the season doesn't resume. Adam Silver, come on, man. You know it's about the money. They're not going through all these hoops, putting up, really taking a massive risk just so that, just so we can have something to watch. It's about the money. It's only about the money. Because I have a very hard time thinking any player in any sport, if it wasn't about the money, if money wasn't an option, would be gung-ho about going to Orlando, being sequestered from their family for almost 2 months, maybe even longer, depending on, obviously, what your family situation is, if they can even come down to Orlando, if your team makes it past the first round of the playoffs. So I just think, think personally, those two quotes about Adam Silver saying it's not about the money, which it obviously is, and him flying in and out of the bubble, kind of setting a bad example. I'm curious to get your thoughts. Am I overreacting here, or is this true, true criticism that deserves to be at Adam Silver? He's done a great job up to this point. I said he's by far and away the best commissioner of all the major sports. There's been very little to criticize Adam Silver in the NBA about over the years. They've been ahead of social justice. They've been a players' league. They listen to their players. They're not afraid to change. They are the most in tune with society, if you want to say, they're at least tone deaf. They adjust based on what the fans say. They hear feedback. They listen. They make changes. So by far and away, the NBA, I would say, is the most fan-friendly and the most player-friendly of the major sports. But hearing Adam Silver come in and out when he pleases, despite, basically warning every other player, you better not leave, and then saying it's not about the money, but it really is. To me, I think Adam Silver set a bad example. I really do. So I'm curious your thoughts. Am I overreacting, or is Adam Silver truly setting a bad example here by not practicing what he's preaching, by trying to claim it's not about the money, but you look at the financials, it is only about the money when you're trying to resume here. So I'm curious your thoughts. If you're listening, comment on Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. If you want to shoot us a tweet, WWSRN_radio. You can shoot me a tweet personally at Ryan_Hickey and the number 3. We'll get your thoughts. Is Adam Silver setting a bad example here by what he's saying and what he's doing when the Orlando restart happens in a few weeks? I mean, less than a month. We'll be watching basketball games in Orlando. This time next week, teams will be in Orlando. So as the plan gets around, I would love your thoughts on what your thoughts on Adam Silver's quotes are. So get your thoughts when we come back. Like I said, Antonio Brown's in the news. He's working out with Russell Wilson. Would you want your team to sign Antonio Brown. We'll get into that, and we'll tell you which two teams are really in the market to sign him when the Morning Boys Ryan Hickey return right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It's time to wake up with the Morning Boys on Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
Welcome back into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network on this beautiful, gorgeous Thursday morning. We hope everyone's having a great week so far, leading into a great holiday weekend where you stay safe, you stay sane, and hopefully, have a little fun, but obviously be smart about it as well. As the last thing any of us want to do is go back into quarantine, shut everything down again, and basically start from the ground up, which again, that would, just thinking about that is very depressing. So hopefully everyone have a great weekend, stay safe as well, doing so, having some fun. Speaking of staying safe, we're talking about Adam Silver and his comments from Time Magazine. He had an interview on Tuesday, basically saying one of the comments he said was when it came to what his plan is going to be of being in Orlando night, he's going to come in and out. So he's going to be down there, then leave, go back up to New York for a few weeks, then come back down to Orlando, and basically come and go as he pleases. And I just think, to me, that's setting a bad message and setting a bad precedent when you are ordering and basically making all these rules to keep the players as safe as possible, to limit their exposure to the virus overall, which means limiting the amount of people from the outside coming in. While it's not a hermetically sealed bubble, while it's not truly even a bubble, the only people that are going to be coming in and out are the hotel workers that will be cleaning the players' rooms for the most part. And now Adam Silver coming in, coming out, just another person that could enter the bubble with the virus. So I think it's a bad precedent, a bad example he's setting personally. I think he should be down there the entire time, leading by example. Lauren writes in, what's going on, Lauren? She said, bad guy Adam, he's trying to have his cake and eat it too, rude. So Lauren is not a fan either of Adam Silver practicing, or I should say saying one thing. Hey, you can't leave the bubble. You guys got to stay safe. You guys got to leave your family. You have to basically be quarantined. You can't even go to another player's room. That's how strict the rules are in Orlando. But, hey, I can come in and out. I can fly on a private jet, fly down there, leave, come back in, and there's no repercussions because it's okay because I'm not going to be that close to the players. But as we know, who's going to be enforced in that? I don't think there's going to be a security guard, walking up to Adam Silver saying, hey, don't get too close to LeBron James. And not to mention, as we know, the virus spreads quickly and it spreads silently. So if Adam Silver has it, doesn't know it, he can easily spread it to a staffer he's talking to. That staffer goes to talk to someone else. That person talks to someone else. Next thing you know, they're talking with LeBron James. It's easy, and we've seen it happen. We can get the virus, second, third, fourth hand. And that's my biggest fear with Adam Silver coming in and coming out, that even if he's sure he's not right next to a player, he can transmit it to them through second and third party. So I hope that's not the case, but I just think it's a poor example of leadership, which and otherwise Adam Silver has done a great job up to this point of this Orlando plan and getting the league back on track here to resume, like I said, in just a few weeks. End of the month, we will see NBA basketball, hopefully in Orlando. Very exciting to see, but just some questionable comments from Adam Silver for sure. So we'll get your thoughts again on Facebook, on Twitter, on Twitch. If you're on Twitch, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. If you're on the app, we'll read those comments on the app as well. Worldwide Sports Radio Network on Android. If you have an iPhone, you want to download the app WWSRN. It's WWSRN, a very important time, and this is really the time. If you are on the fence about downloading the app, if you're, this is really the time to do so. As you can see, we are rolling out a ton of shows. We have a ton of great content over the last few weeks that Errol Marks has done. Our president has done a great job of bringing in, expanding our reach, expanding the amount of shows and the content that we have. So now there is wall-to-wall Worldwide Sports Radio Network content all days of the night, days, weekends, mornings, afternoons. He does a great job with Down to the Wire and Below the Mic most nights of the week. So it's a great job. It's a great time now. So download the app so that way you don't miss a show. You'll get an alert anytime a show is live, and you'll be plugged into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network all days of the week. And again, listen to the great content that we have and continue to bring you as the summer goes on. So again, WWSRN if you have an iPhone, Worldwide Sports Radio Network if you're on Android. So like I said, Antonio Brown is back in the news last night. Video surfaced late last night of him working out with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson throwing some deep balls, Antonio Brown catching them. And the question now is, would you want your team to sign Antonio Brown? As we know, this is a guy who played one game last year, supposed to be on the Raiders. Obviously, through watching Hard Knocks, how that lucked out perfectly. We know that didn't last too long. Didn't make it out of training camp. Goes to the Patriots, plays one game, and then is cut. And now NFL Network's Mike Silver is reporting that two teams are interested in signing Antonio Brown and bringing him on and really kind of putting themselves over the top to try to make a Super Bowl run. Those two teams interested are the Seahawks, which makes sense. He was working out with not only Geno Smith earlier, but now, again, we see him working out with Russell Wilson. And the Baltimore Ravens, his cousin Marquise Hollywood Brown is on the Ravens as a wide receiver. So those two teams, Seahawks and the Ravens, are both legitimately interested in signing Antonio Brown. Skill-wise, it makes sense, right? He's one of the best receivers in the NFL. Like I said, he is one of the hardest receivers to cover. He can play inside, he can play outside. He's quick with his cuts. He has great hands. He can run under the ball. He has speed. He's great after the catch. He has a lot of tools that make him so hard to cover, make him one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And I think it's easy to say, whether it's the Ravens, if they sign him, whether it's the Seahawks, if they sign him, they immediately skyrocket to the top of the list of either co-Super Bowl favorites or Super Bowl favorites. Right? I think it's safe to say if the Seahawks sign Antonio Brown, they are the Super Bowl favorites to come out of the NFC. I think they bump ahead of the 49ers. I think they go ahead of the Buccaneers. I think they go ahead of, whether you're a fan of the Saints or whether you're a fan of the Packers, I think they can bounce back. Whatever team you want to pick in the NFC, I think the Seahawks, if they had Antonio Brown, would be the top of the list to go to and would be the favorites to go to the Super Bowl. And AFC, I think the Ravens are right there with the Chiefs. I really do. I think they're pretty close right now. I think the Chiefs are still number one. I think the Ravens are close. This signing may put them over the top. You may favor Patrick Mahomes, but okay, it's 1-1A, let's say. So this is a move that would instantly boost the odds for either team to make a Super Bowl run and try to get the Lombardi Trophy. So should either of them do it? Or any team, for that matter. But specifically, should the Ravens or the Seahawks pull the trigger, make the move to try to sign Antonio Brown and bring him on their team? My answer is a hard no. Absolutely not. And there is plenty of worries, both on the field and off the field, that make me say that despite the talent, despite the ability that, of him in the lineup, that would open up everything else, that would make, again, these teams great. I absolutely would not bring him on. I think both of them should steer clear and look elsewhere if they want to bring in some more talent. And like I said, so the off-field worries for sure. Let's start with the on-field worries. Because let's not forget here, this is a guy who quit on his team not once, but twice. In 2018, let's go back to the first time. He was on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Week 17, the Steelers basically have a playoff game, right? They're in the playoff hunt. Them and the Ravens, the Steelers have to win the last game of the year. The Ravens have to lose, and if that happens, the Steelers are in the playoffs. So, again, pretty much a playoff game because it's a must-win for the Steelers, Week 17. Leaves practice middle of the week. Frustrated, upset about what's going on with Ben Roethlisberger. There's some reports that, he's throwing footballs at the quarterback. He's very upset about what's going on, about not getting basically too much blame, not enough credit. Leaves practice midweek. Doesn't show up to practice the rest of the week. Skips the Saturday night walkthrough. No one knows where he is. Not answering his phone. And because of that, Mike Tomlin says, all right, this guy's not going to show up. We're not going to play him. Makes him inactive the day of the game. Week 17, he's not allowed to play. He quit on his team. In a game where you have to win to get in the playoffs. He quit on his team, didn't show up, and then when he showed up to the stadium, found out that he wasn't playing and went home. Quitter. Let's go fast forward to 2019. Really, even just a few months later. After 2018, that's the last game of the year. Steelers win, but so do the Ravens, so the Steelers don't go to the playoffs. A few months later, they trade Antonio Brown to the Raiders. And what happens? As we know, we watch the Hard Knocks. He burned his feet in a cryotherapy chamber because he didn't wear the proper socks. So the Raiders came and get this guy on the field to start training camp because his feet are charred. Then, when his feet are supposedly healthy and he can practice, then he starts complaining about his helmet because his helmet is outlawed. It's too old. The NFL outlawed the type of helmet Antonio Brown wore because they said it's too old. You have to modernize. You have to get a better helmet to protect yourself. Antonio Brown freaks out to the point where he tries to paint his old helmet, tries to make it look new, and there's a whole fiasco. Antonio Brown's not going to training camp. He's not practicing because he doesn't have the right helmet. And as we know, this is all on Hard Knocks, and before week one even starts, They trade for him in March. By early September, the Raiders, after trading draft picks and giving him a new contract nonetheless. Think about that. He got out of Pittsburgh. He wanted out of Pittsburgh. He got out of Pittsburgh. He gets traded to the Raiders. They gave him a new contract. They restructure his deal to give him more money, give him a bigger contract. He still is upset, gets and forces his way out of Oakland before one game is even played. So why, my question is, on the field, why wouldn't he do this again? The last 2 years, 2018 and 2019, he has forced his way off a team, whether it was either before a game, like in Pittsburgh, or before the season even started, like it was with Oakland. So to me, I look at it, with football being the ultimate team game, with football being the game where you need to count on your man almost in a warlike mentality, right? I think you hear that from a lot of former players, and they talk about what it means to be a good teammate. The mentality of players on the field is very warlike. You talk about foxhole guys. Football is a sport where you need to have your guys back. You need to be able to count on the other 10 guys on the field with you to get their jobs done in order to win. It is the ultimate team sport you hear, because there's no way that you can just win a game or even have a successful play with one person doing all the work. If only one person doesn't do their job, the entire play fails, the entire team fails. And if you don't have confidence or have faith that the person on your team can get the job done, there's doubt there, you won't be successful. And to me, I look at Antonio Brown. Forget what he can do on the field, or talent-wise, I should say. I wouldn't be able to trust him that he's going to be the guy when the going gets tough. He's going to keep going. Once a quitter, to me, always a quitter, especially when it comes to the sport of football. Because that's a sport you cannot afford to have one person not all in. That's a sport you cannot afford to have one person on the team you can't trust. When the going gets tough, that they're going to buckle up their chin strap and play even harder. They're going to dig in their heels, mentally be tough, and keep on fighting through. Because you got to think, whoever gets in, the Ravens or the Seahawks, right? They're going to be pretty much have one of the best records in their respective conference. But when the playoffs come, if he's on the Ravens, when it's time to play the Chiefs, if he's on the Seahawks, when it's time to play the 49ers or the Buccaneers or the Cowboys or the Eagles, whatever team that you like coming out of the NFC, you need to be able to count on the fact that these games are going to be tough. You need to count on Antonio Brown to be able to make a play when a play has to be made. And I don't believe he's the guy. I don't believe you can trust him. So on field, I worry that he's not going to quit. I worry that he's going to quit again. He has showed when it gets tough, he will quit. I don't want a guy on my team. I don't want a guy, especially on my team, when we're so close to that, to where he can just derail an entire season. So on field, I have concerns. Off field, I have even more concerns. I think about the legal troubles he's in. He's facing burglary and battery charges for an incident in January with a moving truck. That's not even counting the civil allegations of sexual assault and rape that he faced when he was a member of the Patriots last year. So he has all this legal trouble that the NFL still has to figure out what a punishment's going to be. If a team signs him, there's going to be a punishment. There's going to be some sort of suspension. So you got to figure out, okay, how long is the suspension going to be? Is it going to be worth signing him to lose him for 6, 8, 10, 4? Like, no one knows what the punishment's going to be. Not to mention, this is a guy who, has known to burn bridges already. Think about it. After the Patriots cut him, he tweeted his retirement and then went on a Twitter rant calling out Robert Kraft and the NFL for all, obviously with what Robert Kraft had with his own trouble with some massage parlor workers down in Florida. But this is a guy that, again, can you trust him when you bring him on the team that he's going to be there for an entire season? You can't. He's a walking distraction. He has major issues off the field. He has so many issues off the field, you can't even trust, okay, if he's balled in on the field, then when he leaves the facility at night, after a game's over on a Sunday, he's going to go home and everything's going to be okay. Think about it. He played one game in a year and a half. Since week 16 of 2018, he's played in one NFL game. But yeah, we keep talking about him a lot because he keeps getting in trouble off the field. This is the first time we're talking about Antonio Brown, whether teams should sign him or not. Every other time Antonio Brown's been mentioned in the news, anytime Antonio Brown has been mentioned on SportsCenter or an article is written about him, it's always about some off-the-field issue that he has, always about some distraction that he's creating and bringing upon himself. So there's a lot of baggage, there's a lot of drama that you welcome if you sign him to your team. And for me, especially seeing the two teams that are interested with the Seahawks and the Ravens, they both are so close already with the team that they have. Right? Both went to the divisional round last year. Both have, with the Seahawks, they have a elite franchise, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. The Ravens hope they have that, and they have an ascending young quarterback that right now, the ceiling seems to be infinite. Both are so close to breaking through and making another Super Bowl run for the Seahawks or making a Super Bowl run with the new regime that they have there and the new talent that they have in Baltimore. So for me, if I'm both of these teams so close to the cusp of getting to the Super Bowl, the last thing I want to do is bring in a distraction that can derail my hopes, that can ruin it before we even get started. That is, instead of the reason going to the Super Bowl is because we just didn't have enough talent or just didn't play well enough that game, because there's too many distractions, your team's not focused, answering too many questions about Antonio Brown doing this, complaining about not getting the ball. I just think it's too much. There's too much baggage. There's too much risk that could derail the Super Bowl hopes of either the Seahawks or the Ravens. I wouldn't bring them in. I wouldn't. If I'm a fan of those teams, I hope they don't sign them. If I'm a general manager or a head coach, I say I'm not interested. Just like Bruce Arians came out. Keeps getting linked back to the Buccaneers because of their relationship with Tom Brady. Bruce Arians keeps saying, I'm not interested. We're not doing that. He's a massive, massive, massive distraction that, to me, brings more harm than good. But I'm curious your thoughts. Would you want your team to sign Antonio Brown? Does his talent outweigh the distractions he brings? Because guess what we know about the NFL? The NFL, more than any other league, really maybe more than any other place in life, any other job in life, if you have talent, they can look past your shortcomings. They will give you another chance, really no matter what you do. If you can play, you're going to get a chance. So you can do drugs. You can be a bad husband off the field. You can be abusive. Doesn't matter. If you can play, yeah, we'll deal with it as a suspension. You're going to get signed. We've seen it time and time and time again. So it's not a moral question when it comes to the NFL or should Antonio Brown get signed. The talent is still there. We know the talent is still there. Which is why teams are even interested in the first place when he's done everything possible to kind of sabotage his own career. So we know most teams aren't afraid to take on the baggage, aren't afraid to take on the distractions, despite the fact that he's been on 3 teams in a year and a half. 2 of them, he didn't last more than a few weeks. So I would not sign Antonio Brown. I think, to me, death with the distractions, the baggage he brings, the drama he brings, outweigh the massive talent that he has. And if I was a Seahawks fan, if I was a Ravens fan or a head coach or a general manager, I would not do it. I would steer clear of Antonio Brown. I would like the team I have and keep the team I have now and just roll with the players I have. But I'm curious your thoughts. For you, does the talent outweigh the distractions? Is this the piece? Because I do agree. Talent-wise, he's the piece that puts these teams over the top. But I don't think the distractions are worth it. I love your thoughts, whether you want to write it on Facebook, World Wide Sports or Eric. If you want to tweet us, WWSRN_radio, or even my personal Twitter handle, Ryan_Hickey. And the number 3, is Antonio Brown worth the distractions that he brings? Would you want your team to sign Antonio Brown? We'll get your thoughts next. And when we come back, speaking of football, we'll stick in the AFC here. The Chiefs and the Ravens. Clash of their own. I think that's for sure not even a question, right? Who's the team behind them that's most likely to spoil a Chiefs-Ravens AFC title game? A lot of people think it's the Patriots now with Cam Newton. Tell you why, that's not the case. We'll tell you which team is most likely to spoil a Chiefs-Ravens AFC title game. We'll do that when we come back. It is the Morning Boys of Ryan Hickey right here on the World Wide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It's time to wake up with the Morning Boys on Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up.
We are pumping it up here on a Thursday morning, the Thursday before a holiday weekend. Hopefully everyone's having a great week to your start to week so far. If you're already off, you're really pumping it up this week. I know a few people who are off the full week. It must be nice, but hopefully you're getting ready, you're gearing up for a great July 4th weekend. And yeah, we're pumping it up here on the Worldwide Sports Network. It is the Morning Boys right here with you talking some football. Antonio Brown, would you want your team to sign him? Is his talent worth the distraction that he brings? Because let me tell you, it's a lot of talent. One of the best wide receivers in the game still, despite not playing one game in almost 2 years now, in a year and a half. But he brings, with a lot of talent, he also brings a lot of distraction. Joe Siliberti, my guy, also Patriots fan. So he witnessed it last year for one game, but experienced the drama that Antonio brings with him, again, lasting, 2.5 weeks before he was cut. He said, agreed. Joe's with me that Antonio Brown is not worth the distraction. He brings too much baggage with him, and he is not worth what he brings on the field, and he would not sign him. And I think it's interesting because, again, a lot of us, if you're not a Raiders fan, if you're not a Steelers fan, if you're not a Patriots fan, despite the Patriots, again, having the shortest length or shortest experience with Antonio Brown, it's a lot, man. It is a lot for you to handle. And again, if you're a good team, if you're already a good team, which the Seahawks are, which the Ravens are, both elite teams, really, it's not that hard to derail a season. Like, you're already so close to the brink. To me, I don't think it's worth the risk and worth the possibility of derailing your season because this guy just can't keep his head on straight. Can't keep, whether it's complaining about passes, whether it's the drama off the field, having teammates answer questions about you. It's a lot. It's a lot. So I am not for Antonio Brown getting signed. If you are, or if you're not, let me know. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSRred_radio. We'll get your thoughts throughout the show on if you would want Antonio Brown on your team and if his talents do outweigh the distractions that he brings. But I do want to stick with football and specifically look at the AFC. Because as we know, the biggest news of the week so far, Cam Newton signing with the Patriots, getting that one-year deal. And a lot of hype, a lot of excitement was now all of a sudden rushed to the Patriots because I think before this with Jarrett Stidham, we didn't really know what to expect. I believe I said if they go 9-7, that's a great year. We expect somewhere, anywhere from the 7-9 to 9-7 range. Still have a great defense, but we don't really know what Jarrett Stidham's going to bring. And they signed Cam Newton, and all of a sudden now, you sign a former MVP, a guy with a big name. All of a sudden now the Patriots, there's a big team now. The Chiefs and the Ravens now should be shaking in their boots because here come the Patriots. They are definitely the third best team. Give them the AFC East crown again. And they are, all of a sudden now Super Bowl contenders because they signed a quarterback who missed 14 games last year, can't stay on the field, and has declined since winning the MVP in 2015 and since leading the Panthers to the Super Bowl. His career has not been the same. So I'm curious because this sentiment about the Patriots, hyping up the Patriots, this is the team now. They are the team that's going to give the Chiefs a run for their money. They are the team that's going to give the Ravens a run for their money. I think you'll agree when you look at the AFC, the Chiefs and the Ravens are in the tier one, if we do tiers. They're in the class of their own. They're the elites. They're up the upper echelon. They're in the suites. Right? They're in the penthouse. If the AFC is a hotel, they're in the penthouse. But I'm curious now, who is that one team in the AFC that can knock off the Chiefs, that can knock off the Ravens? Spoil a Chiefs-Ravens will be an instant classic AFC championship game in the playoffs in 2020. Because like I said, there's a ton of buzz about the Patriots. I think a lot of people on social media are believing the Patriots are that team. So the Patriots are Super Bowl contenders. Cam Newton now leading the Patriots are that team to spoil and be the ones to knock off either the Chiefs or Ravens. To me, they're not. They are far from it. Like I said, I still expect Jarrett Stidham to start week one. I don't think Cam Newton's going to have anywhere near the impact on the Patriots that a lot of people think he will have. So if it's not at the Patriots, who? I think there's a few contenders. You look at the Bills, let's stay in the AFC East. The Bills have a great roster. Sean McDermott has built the Bills up from the ground up, and they have taken tremendous strides. I have a lot of questions about Josh Allen, a quarterback, and to me, he's the reason why I'm still very skeptical about the Bills. So the Bills have a great roster. I love the head coach and Sean McDermott. The Bills aren't to me because they still have questions about Josh Allen, a quarterback. Speaking of quarterback, Big Ben is now back and healthy for the Steelers. He's still one of the best quarterbacks when healthy. And as you see, the Steelers also have a great roster because despite Big Ben basically missing, the entire season last year outside of a game and a half, The Steelers, up until the last week or so of the season, were in the playoff hunt. With Mason Rudolph and with Duck Hodges splitting time at quarterback, the Steelers were still on the fringe of a playoff berth and almost won that last wild card spot. So you think with Big Ben coming back healthy, okay, that should be a team that could be in the mix here, could give the Chiefs or Ravens a run for their money. I'm personally very bullish on the Chargers roster. Like I said, I thought that if they were a team that signed Cam Newton, that was able to get Tua, that even with Justin Herbert, I think that roster, just going 12-4 2 years ago and having a lot of those same players, I think the Chargers are sleepers in the AFC. I really do. I think that they can really do some damage. They have a great roster. I like Anthony Lynn as their head coach. They can make some noise. But I think there's some limitations there that prevent them from being the third best team. Texans, I think, have the second biggest chance outside of this one team about to list because I love Deshaun Watson. I really do. I want to love Bill O'Brien. He had a special place in my heart. Being the head coach at Penn State when I went there, kind of basically lifting Penn State up from the ruins that a lot of people thought they're going to go into, and single-handedly, I think personally, keeping Penn State alive, that football program alive, to allow James Franco to come in and get where they are now. So Bill O'Brien always has a special place in my heart. He's one of those guys where I really try to always pause it, criticize him because, again, when we have that connection, it helps my thinking. But at the same time, Bill O'Brien, looking at what he's doing with his Texans roster, basically trying to make it as hard as possible for Deshaun Watson to have success. Having that offensive line just be getting better, but a mess for a long time. Trading away the best option, one of the best wide receivers in football for an injury-prone running back. Texans should be that team with Deshaun Watson because they have the quarterback, and as we know, it's a quarterback league. The roster is just in so many question marks around the entire team that despite the great young talent, blossoming talent that the Texans have at quarterback, I'm not ready because their team overall, to me, is not one that I view as dangerous, as lethal, as one you should be concerned about. So if it's not the Texans, it's not the Chargers, it's not the Steelers, it's not the Bills, it's not the Patriots, who is really the third best team in the AFC? Who is the one team that could give the Chiefs or Ravens a run for their money? It's going to be, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm buying in. The Cleveland Browns, to me, are that team. I understand they won the Super Bowl of the offseason last year. A ton of hype for the Browns last year, and they fell flat on their face, going 6-10 last year. But what they did in the offseason, making a few adjustments, to me, I'm buying into the Cleveland Browns. I think they're legit for a few reasons. Here's why. Number one, they upgraded at the most important position, or second most important position, I should say, in the NFL, head coach. Freddie Kitchens, as we know, was hired last year basically because he was Baker Mayfield's friend. I'm not even faulting the logic, to be honest, because as we know, it's a quarterback league. So if there's an offensive quarterback, if there's a quarterback coach that the quarterback likes, right, and Baker Mayfield did like Freddie Kitchens, I don't have that much of an issue with the Browns actually pulling the trigger and making Freddie Kitchens the head coach. I think if you can placate to the quarterback, keep some continuity there, it helps. Obviously, as we know, Freddie Kitchens was really not ready to be a head coach in the NFL, completely overwhelmed. His play calling was predictable, dry, couldn't have any handle of the team, wasn't ready for the moment at all, and was not ready to lead a group of 53 men. Bringing in Kevin Stefanski, I understand another first-time head coach, risky. I think he's ready for it. I think the Browns realized the mistake they made last year. You bring in a new general manager, Andrew Berry. You realize, okay, we got burned last year because the guy didn't know what he was doing, Freddie Kitchens. We can't make that mistake again. I do think Kevin Stefanski is a guy that brings some creative genius in the offense and is ready to lead a team. I think he's ready and understands what it takes to be a head coach in the NFL. So I think that's a massive upgrade. They addressed their weaknesses in free agency in the draft. Their offensive line was putrid last year. They signed Jack Conklin, a great tackle to shore up the offensive line. They drafted Jedrick Wills Jr., a great tackle in the draft to really now they are starting to build that offensive line to be solid to give Baker Mayfield some time. Their secondary last year really struggled. They upgraded that. They did make it better, and they upgraded. So that secondary should be better than last year. You look at the skill position overall, tight end, running back, wide receiver combined. And arguably, they have the best group, the skill positions combined in the NFL. Think about it. You have Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry at receiver. You had Nick Chubb, who almost ran for 1,500 yards last year. Think about that. He was 6 yards shy of running for 1,500 yards last year. Nick Chubb had a great year. You pair him with Kareem Hunt, who still has a ton of talent. They signed Austin Hooper to go along with David Njoku. That is, you talk about loaded. Running back, receiver, tight end, arguably the best combo in the NFL. I think Baker Mayfield, like I said, had a bad second year. I think that a head coach upgrade in Kevin Stefanski will really help bring Baker Mayfield along this year. And I think it won't be on his shoulders. Like I said, I really thought the play calling, the lack of preparedness from Freddie Kitchens really held the Browns back. But I'm buying in this year, to be honest. I am buying in. I think it's legit. Because the moves they made this offseason, they addressed their weaknesses. They saw where they needed help. And I think they realized they took a chill pill or a reality pill and saying, hey, winning the offseason is nice. Getting some nice draft picks, getting some nice free agents, making some nice trades is nice. But if we don't get the chemistry, if we don't have the right people there to use those pieces that we have, we're not going to do anything. And that's what I think you saw happen last year. The Browns weren't 6-10 last year because they had no talent. The Browns were 6-10 last year because they didn't have the coaches and the schemes that could actually get the most out of their players. Baker Mayfield shouldn't struggle when you have Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, David Njoku, who's an athletic freak. I understand he was hurt, but he's still very athletic. Two great running backs. Yeah, the offensive line struggled, and now obviously it was a big part of it. And now you upgrade the coaching staff to know what they have and are able to bring the best out of the personnel that the Browns have. I'm buying into the Browns. I really am. I understand that was dangerous to do. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me sort of thing. A lot of us bought into the Browns last year. And now if I'm buying into it again, shame on me for believing it twice and both times getting let down. But I'm doing it, to be honest. I'm buying it. I think this is the Browns' year. And if there's going to be a team that's going to upset the Chiefs, that's going to upset the Ravens, that's going to be the reason that stand between a Ravens-Chiefs AFC title game, I think the Browns are the team. I'd love to get your thoughts. Who is that third best team in the AFC? Who is the one team in the AFC that is going to spoil a Chiefs-Ravens AFC title game? A lot of people think it's Cam Newton. I'd love to get your thoughts. If it is the Patriots, or I should say, a lot of people think it's Cam Newton. A lot of people think it's the Patriots because they signed Cam Newton. But I'm not buying into it. To me, I think it's the Cleveland Browns by far have the best talent and are in the best position to really upset a few teams and really give both the Chiefs and the Ravens a run for their money. So I'd love to get your thoughts on Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. If you want to tweet us, WWSRN_radio on Twitter. Joe believes what I'm saying. Joe Saberti again writes in on Facebook. Such a waste of talent of J.J. Watt and Deshaun Watson's talents when it comes to the Texans, and I totally agree with him. But it's part of the reason why I'm not buying into the Texans as that team, despite having the quarterback to do so, to be that team to upset the Chiefs or the Ravens. So let's get your thoughts. Who is that one team? Basically, who is the third best team in the AFC? We'll get your thoughts when we come back. And also when we come back, would you sign a waiver to go to an NFL football game? We'll discuss that. Is the Morning Boys of Ryan Hickey right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It's time to wake up with the Morning Boys on Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
We are back here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network talking a lot of football today, a lot of NFL football for sure. Antonio Brown, would you want him on your team? I say hell to the no. His talent is great, no denying that. His distractions are greater. I think he has more of the ability to tear a team down than build them up, to be honest. So if I was a team like the Ravens or the Seahawks, the two teams that Mike Silver of NFL Network is reporting that are seriously interested, I should say, in signing Antonio Brown, I steer clear. I go to open waters. I say, no thanks. I like the team I have now. I'm not willing to put my season in jeopardy for a person that, to be honest, can't keep their head straight on the field or off the field. So let's get your thoughts on that. And we talked about now that, Cam Newton is signed and a member of the Patriots. A lot of people I saw on social media are really quick to crown the Patriots kind of that third team in the AFC and bill them as Super Bowl contenders. So my question was, if not the Chiefs, and not the Ravens. Who is that third team? I'm not buying to the Patriots. I said the Cleveland Browns. My guy Joe, appreciate you listening. Joe writes in. He also is in agreement. He puts the Browns number 3, Patriots 4, Bills 5, Titans 6, and Steelers 7. So that's his order: Browns, Pats, Bills, Titans, and Steelers in terms of danger danger. Say in theory to either the Chiefs or the Ravens to knock them out and prevent them from going to the AFC title game to face each other. So let's get your thoughts. Who is the third best team in the AFC? Who is a team that can knock off the Chiefs, could knock off the Ravens, and spoil a Chiefs-Ravens, which would just be an epic battle of MVP quarterbacks in the AFC title game? I say Browns. Joe says Browns. What do you think? We'll get your thoughts throughout the show. Still have a great show lined up. 10-20, 20-20 or Apocalypse. One playoff spot left. Lauren Heschel, my great friend, another high school friend, going to come on. She's going to try to get that 10th and final playoff spot. I'll explain the playoff format, what it's going to look like, when we can get started, because it's going to be March Madness in July. 2020 Apocalypse Madness. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have contestants going against each other on the air live. We're going to have a ton of fun, and we're looking for one more contestant to punch their ticket to get into the playoffs. Rob did a great job on Monday. He's in the playoffs. Score 3 or 5 or better will get you in. We'll see if Lauren can get a 3 out of 5 and get into the playoffs. We'll do that in about 15 minutes or so. And finally, end the show. Should MLB and other leagues be transparent and tell us the names of every player who tests positive? I say yes. I think it would be a smart move going forward to help the league stay as safe as possible and help them basically try to prevent them from getting shut down early. We'll get to that at the end of the show. But I'm curious, this segment's going to be about you, the fan, right? Because we talk about sports, but it's always talking about players, teams, free agents. This team is signing this person. This team didn't sign this person, right? It's always something around either a player or a team into that aspect. We really talk about you, the fan, what you want. What are your preferences? What are what's on your mind? And I want to kind of direct this next segment directly to you, the listener, you, the sports fan. Because a report came out yesterday from The Athletic. Daniel Kaplan does a great job of sports business at The Athletic. And he's reporting that the NFL is contemplating having fans sign waivers in order to attend NFL games this year. And those waivers would basically prevent you, if you go to a game and get sick and get the coronavirus, prevent you from suing that team, suing the league, suing the stadium for getting COVID-19. And then Daniel Kaplan also went on to say that NFL attendance this year is going to be dictated by individual teams and local government. So there's going to be no NFL mandate of no fans, 25% capacity, 50% capacity. So in theory, if you're in an area that's not hit hard, if you're in an area that's making great progress with the virus and really mitigating the spread, you could have 50% capacity. If you want to get crazy, 75% capacity or even close to full attendance. So it's going to be governed by individual teams, what they feel comfortable, with the risk they feel comfortable in bringing the amount of fans in, and local government, what will the government actually allow? How many people will they allow to gather at one time? And that would dictate the number of fans allowed in an NFL stadium, if fans are even allowed at all this year into NFL games. So I'm curious, asking you directly, would you feel safe if you had to sign a waiver to go to an NFL game? Would you still want to attend an NFL game if it meant signing a waiver, signing away your right to sue if you catch the coronavirus, if you catch COVID-19 while at the stadium, while at the game? Because to me, to be completely honest, where we are right now, seeing the cases spike during a time in the summertime when we were told up to this point that the cases will go down in the summer, right? That's all we heard. The two things that were supposed to be definite so far are that the virus will slow down in the summer because it doesn't do well in the heat, and that we are bracing and should expect a big second spike in the fall. So far, again, we're seeing a massive spike in a lot of southern states. So despite the heat being pretty high in Texas and Florida and California, we're still seeing some cases rapidly increase. So because of that, to be honest, I don't think I would feel safe right now. And honestly, it's really not even the surging cases right now, to be honest, because this is something that as we know, the coronavirus kind of changes by the second, right? One day things are going great, other day, the cases spike and the outlook looks poor. So it's tough for me to make a decision almost 2 months out, right? I mean, July 2nd, games are going to start in middle September, so 2 months away from whether it'd be safe to go to a game or not. But what's giving me pause, and why I feel confident answering this question right now at least, is that personally to me, I feel signing a waiver, especially for the NFL, would almost give a pass to some teams to cut corners, to basically act without punishment, and try to, basically squeeze in as many fans as possible in order to get as much money, recoup as much money as possible. And as you know, especially the NFL specifically, I mean, all four major league, any sports league, whatever it is, their main goal is to make money, right? Let's not be silly here. Their main goal isn't to put on entertainment. Their main goal isn't to win a championship if you're an owner of a team. Your main goal, the first motivation is to make a profit. The NFL we see takes us to the extreme because they are willing basically to do whatever it takes to turn a profit. They are, they don't care how it looks optically. They will do whatever it takes to make sure that revenue keeps on coming in, that bottom line keeps getting met, and those pocketbooks keep on expanding. So my concern about signing a waiver that takes away my ability to sue, or basically sign a waiver to have the teams, the owners of the stadium escape blame, it's honestly, I'm concerned that because this waiver is in place, teams may not follow all the correct protocols in order to ensure fan safety. Hey, think about it. If you were without punishment, if you had to sign something to basically say the team is not liable if you get sick or not, sure. I mean, I'm not saying some teams are going to be reckless, but I do question, to be completely honest, whether some teams would do everything possible to ensure safety is the first priority. So, yeah, to be honest, if teams are off the hook legally, I am skeptical, I am cynical that their first motivation won't be safety, it'll be profits. The more fans you get in the stands, the more money you make. As we know, for the most part, the NFL has been the least affected league so far, but I think we all expect that to change. Already, as we saw, 2 preseason games were cut, and so is the Hall of Fame game. So now, at most, teams are playing 2 preseason games. I understand this sounds like nothing. 2 preseason games, who cares? No one goes. But the reason why this is important is because now those preseason games are just at least one less home game for these fans to make money, or these teams to make money. The preseason is basically a money grab. In order to get season tickets, you have to also agree to buy tickets to the preseason. Well, now, one less preseason game, that's one less opportunity to bring people into the stadium, get ticket revenue, sell some merchandise, sell some T-shirts, sell some jerseys, sell some popcorn, sell some beer. And I hardly think that that's the last revenue opportunity for the NFL that they're going to lose. I am very skeptical and very doubtful, currently right now with the climate that we're in, that the NFL season will be able to finish, to be completely honest. Football, more than any other sport right now, I have my severe doubts that they'll be able to fit in a full 16-game schedule. So if that's the case, if owners basically, they start the season in September and basically, all right, we're just going to go and keep until we can't go anymore, I think they're going to try, I personally do believe this, to try to do whatever they can do to get as much money in that small section of time as possible. So again, if you have to sign a waiver, if they are off the hook, to let's say maybe they don't have to enforce social distancing, to now crowds are gathering, to where maybe they don't have as many workers cleaning bathrooms or ensuring that everyone is safe and having a good time, or that they overcrowd the stadium, instead of 50% low and 55 or 60%, to be honest, I do get a little nervous that a waiver comes into play that they are kind of off the hook. So, yeah, so the waiver itself, I understand we sign waivers all the time, right? To be honest, I'm going paddleboarding after this. Yesterday before we went and signed a waiver. So, I mean, sure, what are the odds that, you get actually hurt paddleboarding? But it does happen, and you have to sign away your ability to say, listen, it's my own fault, basically, if I get hurt, and I can't sue the company. It's not like this is the first time we're seeing a waiver or hearing about a waiver. To me, I just get nervous that, this could be an ability for the NFL to skirt some blame, and by doing so, bend the rules to, again, try to, basically put profits over people. So currently right now on July 2nd, hearing that you might have to sign a waiver in order to get into a game, to be honest, I don't feel that comfortable going. I really don't. That could change maybe based on, again, we have 2 months before the season starts to see how coronavirus, the cases spread or not. We'll see what kind of guidelines that stadiums will impose. But the NFL, more than any other league, I feel like, does put profits over everything else. And that does concern me when it comes to public safety. Do you entrust the leagues, the owners, to put your safety above profits? It sounds cynical, and I understand. I apologize. I'm not trying to, really throw a wet blanket on anything, but I'm just telling you, keeping it real, telling you how I feel. I currently, right now, do not trust the NFL to have my best interests at heart. Do not trust the NFL to prioritize safety over maybe getting a few extra bucks in a season that could be stopped. A season where revenues definitely won't be like they were in previous years. I'm concerned that they're going to try to get as much money as possible in the short term before or if things hit the fan and they're not able to finish. So I'm just curious, your thoughts. Would you feel safe if you have to sign a waiver going to an NFL game? Would you feel comfortable? Would you be okay with signing a waiver and basically signing away your right to hold the team accountable, hold the team responsible if you get sick at a football game? Joe says no. He actually says nope in all caps. So he is very, right now, on the fence with me. I wouldn't trust the NFL to have my best interest at heart. That is safety. Joe feels the same way. Absolutely not. He says nope in all caps when it comes to if you would sign a waiver in order to attend an NFL game. So I'm curious your thoughts. Would you feel safe? Would you feel safe even going to a game, let's say, at half capacity? Forget the waiver aside for a second here. Half capacity at most of these stadiums, 40,000, 50,000 fans. Would you feel safe being somewhere right now with someone with 40,000 other people? So I'm curious your thoughts. Would you feel okay? Would you have no problem signing a waiver in order to attend an NFL game? Or would you have a problem with it? Would you not feel safe? Maybe have second thoughts about going to an NFL game this year. Maybe wait till next year. So I'm curious. Love to know your thoughts. Chime in anyway. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, on the app, WWSR on an iOS or Worldwide Sports Network on Android. Reach out, let me know, would you feel safe attending an NFL game if you had to sign a waiver, basically sign away your right, hold the team accountable if you get sick, if they don't have the proper precautions necessary to keep you safe? We'll discuss that when we come back. It is 10:20. One playoff spot is on the line. Can Lauren Heschel clinch and punch her ticket to the playoffs? We will do it next in 2020 Apocalypse when the Morning Boys Ryan Hickey return right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It's time to wake up with the Morning Boys on Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
There we go. As we are back here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It is 10:20, which means it is time for 2020 or Apocalypse, the fastest growing game show in all of North America. Not my word, the people's word, so trust me on that when I say that. And it's crunch time, folks. We are coming down to the edge here. We've played this game for 2 months. It's been a lot of fun. We've had a lot of laughs, a lot of interesting results, to say the least. But now the regular season is starting to come to an end. 9 contestants have punched their ticket to the playoffs, which is a score of 3 or 5 or better. We're looking for one more contestant. Once we get to 10, we'll start a little NCAA March Madness style bracket, and we need one more person to punch their ticket. Our contestant is fired up. She's excited. She believes she's going to be the 10th and final person to get into the playoffs. She is a Skyline champion, so she already knows what it takes to win. She's the only person I've ever heard of to break both of their feet at the same time and have to wear garbage bags over her feet. So she is one in a million. It is the great, the unforgettable Lauren Heschel. Lauren, what's going on?
Woo, I'm so excited to be here, and I'm laughing at your little monologue there for me.
Well, is that not true? What did I say false? You were a champion? Skyline champ,
yes,
can't take that away.
True. 2015, I won the soccer Skyline Championship with St. Joseph's College, women's soccer.
Shout out. And then, obviously, you had both of your feet broken at the same time.
Yeah, that was my junior year. Unfortunately, my cleats were too tight, and this happened to break both of my feet. And the garbage bag was true, too, because it was raining, so I had to cover both my feet. So the stands were making fun of me because I was walking like an idiot.
You were very stylish. Let's say you were fashion forward. Let's just go with that, rocking the garbage bags on the feet.
Yeah, I guess so, right?
We'll go. It's 2020. Anything kind of rolls at this point. So even forget it was like five years ago. We'll just say it works. It works.
Okay.
But Lauren,
Yeah.
like I said, big intro here because the playoffs are right. I mean, you have a chance to make history. First of all, no one has gotten a perfect score yet. No one's also gotten an 0 for, so no pressure either way. No one's gotten 0 for 5. No one's gotten 5 for 5. You can make history either way here. Which again, you are a champion, so you know what it takes to win. So we're feeling good there.
Yeah, competitive.
Yes.
I want that spot number 10.
You do. Rob, our friend Rob, just went on Monday. He went 3 out of 5. He got the last question right to get in. So 3 of the 5, I would say, maybe is the bar that you want to shoot for. Beat him, have a little bragging rights over him for sure. But are you ready, Lauren? So in case you aren't aware, the game works. We'll give you 5 headlines, 5 stories, essentially. You have to say whether they happened in 2020, and this is actually real, or this is made up. No way this happened, only in the apocalypse. Said 3 out of 5 will get you in the playoffs. Lauren, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, number 1. In preparation for Donald Trump's rally in Tulsa 2 weeks ago, the city went from mandating wearing a mask to just making it optional so Donald Trump wouldn't get mad. Is that a true story, happened in 2020, or is that apocalypse? No way that's actually real.
Ooh.
Did mask wearing go from mandatory to optional?
Yeah, I'm going to go with no way. That's not true.
Lauren, you would be correct. You are 1 for 1. That is not true.
1 for 1. Okay.
Mask wearing is already very optional in Tulsa, and if you saw any of the videos, not many people were wearing masks. So that was never mandatory, and Lauren, you are correct. 1 for 1. That law was not lifted because of Trump. You are crushing it. Are you ready for number 2?
I'm ready.
All right. On the first day Florida mandated face masks in public, a man tried to force his way into a Walmart without wearing a mask, ended up shoving an employee while spitting all over the place before finally relenting and leaving the store. Is that a real story? Is that something that actually happened? Or no way would someone actually not wear a face mask when they are mandatory and then fight someone and try to get into a Walmart?
I'm going to say that's true.
Are you cheating? Lauren is 2 for 2. She's making it seem too easy.
I'm not cheating.
All right, 2 for 2. You are correct, Lauren. 3 questions to go. Just get 1 right, and you are punching your ticket to the playoffs.
Okay. Woo.
So, Hesh, I got to ask, because we're all in the same boat here, what have you been doing to pass the time during this quarantine? Any creative hobbies? Any new skills you learned? What have you been doing?
I've actually been running every single day, and currently, so in the past, I guess, 3-4 months, I'm up to 135 miles.
Oh, my God. I'm trying to think.
Yeah,
6?
and just by running, I lost 20 pounds. So I really suggest everyone just get out there, even if it's just walking.
So
Crazy.
you said 135 miles, and you said 2 months?
No, so I started the end of March, so 3 to 4 months.
Okay, I mean, it's still let's just say 1.5 miles a day. That's pretty impressive. You've been running every day.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I mean, here if I'm hungover or something, I'll take a day off. But
Wait, where are you going?
honestly, I also haven't really drank, but recently with kind of the opening of restaurants and stuff, I'll have a drink or two, and my tolerance is not good anymore. So it's a drink or two. I'm in bed until 12 the next day.
Anymore? Was it ever good?
No, it wasn't that great ever.
Oh,
But now
Lauren.
it's just getting worse because I took a long break.
Yeah. God, whatever bar opens up fully and you go for the first time to really let loose, God bless. Because Hurricane Heschel is a sight to see. But
I hope you're there with me, Rye.
I hope not. I hope not. I'm gonna avoid that storm. I'm gonna batten down the hatches. That's for sure. All right, Laura, you're 2 for 2. You ready for number 3?
I'm ready. 3 for 3. Here we go.
Here we go. 2 U.S. Olympic athletes were cleared from failed drug tests after it was determined that the drugs entered both of their systems through sexual transmission and that the drugs were actually in their partner, not them. So is that 2020? Are they cleared from drug tests because the drugs were determined to enter the system through sexual transmission, or is that no way, that's real? They weren't cleared. This didn't happen.
Yikes.
Did sex cause failed drug tests?
Okay. I'm going to go with, 2020, anything can happen. I'm going to go with that's true.
That is true. Lauren, wow, you are crushing it. 3 for 3.
3 for 3, wow.
Both females, Ginny Fuchs and softball player Madeline Nichols, both had drugs into their bodies from their partners. How about that? They were let go. That's a hell of a... I feel like if that's an excuse you would use, no way anyone's going to believe it. You roll your eyes, oh, yeah, I'm sure that's really how the drugs enter your system. But it was believable. How about that?
That's wild.
That is absolutely wild. The crazier part, Lauren, you are 3 for 3. You already punched your ticket. But, why not go for the perfect score? Why not make history? Go 5 for 5. And in doing so, you would lock in the number 1 seed.
Oh, so no one's got 5 for 5?
No one has. The highest score we have is 4 out of 5. And when it's all said and done, we're going to, rank everyone. So it's going to be like a seeding format 1 through 10. So you get 5 out of 5 based on score. You're number 1. You're the top dog going into this. You're the person to beat.
All right.
All right, number 4. The University of Georgia announced that they are building glass partitions in dorm rooms so that the roommates won't be in contact and thus hopefully slowing down the spread of coronavirus. Is this true? Are they building partitions, glass partitions, basically sectioning off your side of the dorm room or not? Is that fake?
The word glass kind of, threw me a little bit. I feel like that's dangerous. People can think that, so I'm going to say that's not true.
You are correct. It is not true. I love how the word glass was the reason that you said, that sounds dangerous. No way that's real. What if it was plastic partitions? Would that have changed your logic?
Yeah, if you said plastic, I would have been like, heck yeah, that's true.
Damn. Well, I look at that. Every word Lauren is analyzing so far, she is 4 out of 4. No one has ever gotten this, by the way. The few people that have gotten 4 have gotten some wrong along the way. So you were the first person to go so far 4 for 4. You are crushing it. No pressure.
I'm doing a little happy dance. You can't say.
All right, don't be getting too early because this is it. This is for history. This is for the no-hitter, the perfect game, Lauren.
Okay. I'm nervous. Go.
To be in a league amongst your own. Number 5, a New York City subway rider, in order to achieve proper social distancing on the train car, sprayed fart spray in order to drive strap hangers into other cars and basically allow enough distance between he and everyone else. Is that true? Are people using fart spray in order to drive others to go in other cars? Or is that not true? That is false.
Well, just solely based on that's pretty funny, I'm going to go with true.
Lauren, do you believe in miracles?
Yes, I do. I love God and Jesus.
Well, unfortunately, there's no miracle here. That is unfortunately false. That is a made-up story. There was a chance. Oh, I'm sorry, Lauren, but yeah, that you came close, but that is not true. Thankfully, that no one has done that to my knowledge of yet. Maybe a big listener will take this into action and try to get their own card themselves by doing so. But as we speak, on July 2nd at 10:32 on the East Coast, no one has done it. So I apologize that is a false story. But Lauren, 4 to 5, you crushed it. You were in a league of your own. Lauren, the other Lauren, my girlfriend Lauren, 4 to 5. My cousin Sarah, 4 to 5. So right now you are in a league amongst your own with those two, and you will be one of the top seeds once the playoff comes around. Congratulations! You excited? You going to be in the playoffs?
Yeah, thank you. I'm so excited. Woo! Thanks for having me.
Lauren, congratulations. We appreciate it. We'll give you all the details of when the playoffs will start, who your matchup's going to be. But you beat Rob. You beat all our friends. You can have the bragging rights there. Thanks for playing. It was a lot of fun, and we'll see you in the playoffs.
All right. Thanks, Rye.
The great Lauren Heschel, again, a fashion-forward girl herself, wearing garbage bags on her feet. The only person you ever heard of to break both of their feet just by wearing cleats that were too small. because they look good. That is the sole reason why they wore them. And congratulations to Lauren. 4 to 5. First person to ever get 4 consecutive right on the show. So she is in the playoffs. She will be one of the top seeds. And now the field is set. We have our 10 participants. And here's what we're going to do. Here's how the format's going to work. 10 obviously is not great for a bracket. But here's what we're going to do. The top 6 seeds, we're going to basically pick out of a hat, randomly divide those in the 3 to 5 category, those in the 4 to 5 category. 4 to 5 category ranked at the top, top 1, 2, 3, 4. The rest will be added to the bunch 6 through 10, or I should say 4 through 10. The bottom 4, seeds 6, 7, 8, or I should say seeds, 7, 8, 9, 10, will battle each other in a little play-in tournament. The NCAA tournament has the first 4 in. That's what we're going to do. We're going to bring that concept to the show. We'll have those 4 contestants battle their way in to get the final 2 seeds. So at that point, we'll have 2 out of the final 4 in. We'll have top 8 seeds. 1 will play 8, 2 will play 7, 3 will play 6, and so on. They'll be on at the same time. So we're going to have a little dual call there. 5 questions. They both can answer the same if they want. They're going to answer the same time. So we'll see how the score will go after that. But we eventually will trickle our way down to having 1 contestant. The prizes will be as followed. First place will get $30. Second place, $20. Third place, $15. So a little different prize schedule. Top 3 finishers out of 10 will get a prize. And as you said, the prizes will go up as the higher you finish. So it's going to be a lot of fun here. Have some July Madness on the show for sure, and that should be a lot of fun going forward when we do the 2020 Apocalypse playoffs starting very soon. We'll start it on Monday. The first 4 will begin this time on Monday. Definitely tune in. We'll have a lot of fun there, and we'll crown a 2020 Apocalypse champion. The person who is so in tune with 2020, they know what's going on the most. They will have that crown and be able to have a lot of bragging rights and also spend a little money to show for it as well. So we do appreciate Lauren. She punches her ticket, and now going forward, like I said, 10 playoff participants, 1 winner. So we'll have some fun on Monday. When we do come back, I'll finish up with this. I want to finish up with some baseball because some general managers, specifically Brian Cashman, as well as a few other general managers, we're talking about, when it comes to COVID-related illnesses, how it's going to be treated, on the injury list compared to a normal injury. And it seems like MLB, as well as some other leagues, won't be too transparent when it comes to revealing which players are sick, which players aren't. I'll tell you why. Being transparent is really a necessity if the leagues want to finish their seasons. We'll do that when the Morning Boys Ryan Hickey return right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It's time to wake up with the Morning Boys on Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
We congratulate Lauren Heschel one last time. She has punched her ticket into the 2020 Apocalypse playoffs. 4 to 5, did very well, almost on the cusp of getting that perfect score. Just could not get the last one right, but we congratulate and say congratulations to her as she moves on, and we will now have the 2020 Apocalypse playoffs starting on Monday with the first 4 in. Should be a lot of fun. We'll let you know. We'll put the results on Facebook and give you the seedings. Let you know and let you follow along that way as we do an NCAA-styled bracket. Should be a ton of fun as we get going here. A little July Madness, let's say, on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Some sad news, or some concern news, I should say, before we get into the final topic about baseball and their transparency with the coronavirus test. But on the same topic, or on the same level, is that USC just announced late last night, earlier this morning, that they reversed course on what their plan is for the fall with students. They initially announced that they're going to have students on campus in the fall, going to have in-person classes, and now they just announced that late last night that their undergrads will now primarily take classes online, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is a big deal when it comes to college football, because now if students aren't going to be allowed on campus, it's going to be pretty hard to justify allowing football players on campus, but not allowing regular students on campus. So that's a big, big, big blow currently to having college football, at least as we know it, in the fall. Now, other schools like Michigan have said the same thing. Their president has come out and said, if students aren't allowed on campus in the fall, we basically won't have a football season to start. And they so far have at least allowed their students to come on, and their plan is to have students back in the fall. So that's at least, encouraging, but not good that USC reverses course. As we see California, their COVID cases are increasing, especially the last few weeks. They're skyrocketing. And now their plan is to have students, instead of in person in the fall, to now be online in the fall, which is not good. So we'll see what dominoes kind of fall from here. We'll see an announcement what USC football plans to do. But we talked about it on Monday. To me, it makes all the sense in the world, money-wise, keeping the players safe, to push the season to the fall for just 2020. Push the football season to the spring for 2020, which would be 2021. I understand there's a quick turnaround between the spring season and the fall season, but if you want to play all the games, if you want to keep the players safe, if you want to have fans in the stands, which helps to generate money for these universities, the best bet, at least in my eyes, would be to play in the spring. We'll see if this news kind of pushes that idea forward. You had Penn State Athletic Director Sandy Barbour come out and say yesterday spring is the last option. So they're going to try all they can. They're going to try their hardest in order to play football in the fall, and that the spring is really the last resort, the last option to do so. So again, a big little development here. We'll keep you updated as the shows go on into July. But USC announces, instead of having on-campus classes, instead of having classes or students back on campus in the fall, they switch gears. They reverse course, and now students will primarily take classes online in the fall, which definitely casts some doubt now about USC football future, and also the future of just college sports overall in the fall of 2020. So we'll see what happens from there, but not a good sign, not a good indication that football will have a chance to start on time and finish in general. We will keep you updated for sure. But speaking of not finishing, speaking of trying, to get the season off the ground and keep players safe, Major League Baseball had some comments I thought were really interesting. I think they're taking the wrong approach to this. And that is, on Tuesday afternoon, a few general managers were talking about, because of the HIPAA laws, teams aren't able to publicly divulge the names of players who contract the virus unless the players do so themselves or give them permission. Excuse me. As we heard, we've heard, whether it's basketball players, whether it's football players, whether it's baseball players, we have heard names, we have learned of which specific players have become ill with the virus. And that's because the players themselves have gave the permission, outside of really Ezekiel, it seems like, had given permission to let those publicly know that they had the virus. And Brian Cashman, the Yankees general manager, was on a conference call Tuesday, and this is what he said. He was asked basically, what's the policy going to be? What's the protocol going to be? If a player gets sick, are you going to alert the media? Are you going to alert the other team? He said, quote, "The information I've been given is that the media will be left to try to figure that out. Somebody might be down and out, but we might not be able to speak to why, and it would be a speculating circumstance where you'd have to use your journalistic superpowers to determine if there's anything or not, what the circumstance might be." Essentially, long way of saying we're not allowed to tell you publicly. If someone's out for 2 weeks, you don't see an injury pull, you don't see a muscle tear, you don't see them get hurt, you can put 2 and 2 together and say, I wonder why they're out for 2 weeks and now they're back. Basically saying he's going to leave it up to the media to speculate, leave it up to the fans to put 2 and 2 together and say, yeah, this person has COVID. We can't officially say so. But this person's out. They've been out for 3, 4, 5 days. They seem fine. They're not with the team. They're not on the bench. They're still, if teams are traveling still in the other city, they probably have the coronavirus. And the MLB also announced that they won't have a COVID-19 specific list, meaning, Major League Baseball has, the injured list, formerly the designated, the DL, where, your player gets hurt, pulls a muscle, they go on the 10-day injured list. Now, anyone with COVID, anyone with coronavirus will be placed on that 10-day injured list. So there's no specific COVID-19. This is the list for all those players who will test positive. So to me, the MLB and any other sports league that wants to follow this sort of way of going about business, to me, is only hurting their ability to ensure that the players are safe and ensure that the season is finished, not just started. So I think absolutely, I understand, players may have to sign away their HIPAA rights just for this. But I think in this specific circumstance, when it comes to only dealing with coronavirus and coronavirus only, I think it is imperative and it is honestly a social right, a social duty for these teams and these players to announce who has coronavirus and who doesn't. Because there's a few different reasons why I feel this way. Number one, now more than ever, it's honestly a safety hazard to not disclose the information of who's sick or who's not. Right? During this pandemic, I feel like now the way you slow the spread, the way you try to prevent others from getting it, mitigating the virus spreading, is knowing who has it and knowing who doesn't. The more information we can gather, the better. So if we have a family member who unfortunately becomes ill with the virus, we know, okay, they have it. We probably shouldn't go over their house the next few weeks. Be extra cautious about seeing them for the next few weeks. So that's the best way, being alert, being aware who has it, who doesn't have it, is the best way to help contain the spread. Now, I'm sure if a player on the Yankees tests positive, Brian Cashman is going to tell the rest of the team, hey, so-and-so got sick with the coronavirus, heads up, stay away from him, he's not going to be here for the next 2 weeks. So it's not like the rest of the team will have to be left to kind of put the pieces there themselves. But I'm curious, because you're not forced to divulge this information, will the opponents be alerted to the test? Will Major League Baseball be alerted to the test? Because if the media, if it's almost going to be a gamesmanship sort of angle here where we can't officially tell someone or tell anyone that they have it or not, wouldn't that hurt the league's ability, hurt the team's ability to contact trace to see if an opponent maybe cross paths with this player and maybe has it? Is it, if there's no protocols and if you have to tell the other team or not, why would you? So to me, it sets a dangerous precedent. And it really honestly hurts the league in trying to finish the year more than it helps. Because now if you don't know who has it, who doesn't, it's a guessing game. If someone on the other team crosses paths with someone who's sick, gets sick themselves, spreads it to that team, all of a sudden now you have team or teams affected by one player getting sick, which is the last thing you want. So being forced to publicly disclose the test results will allow everyone to be on the same page, allow contact tracing to happen, to be able to find, which players could be affected, which players are not, isolate them. So that way you get ahead of it instead of kind of being reactive, giving tests after the fact, and then hoping that this player that doesn't have it, or if he does, didn't spread it already to his other teammates. So publicly disclosing, publicly putting it out there publicly that this player has it, to me at least helps ensure the league that they have a better chance of finishing the season. If it's going to be a secret, if it's going to be this sort of guessing game, where now the manager of those other team has to guess, okay, their best player hasn't been in the dugout for 2 straight days now, maybe something's up. That's not a game. This is not a game that you can be playing right now. I understand, you don't want to give the other team any sort of advantage, so they have to prepare for, this player playing, and they don't. Okay, it's just less time that they take away from preparing for another player to play. You always want to keep the other team, you always want to keep the opponent guessing on their toes. But the coronavirus is not a virus or not something you can use or should use to have a competitive advantage on. So right now, if teams aren't forced to publicly disclose who's sick and who's not, to get really morbid here for a second, to get really, really cynical here for a second, do you truly believe that if players are tested, let's say before the game, they don't have to publicly disclose those results? Maybe they can rush a player back a little too early, or maybe even lie about the results, or maybe wait till after the big game to reveal, oh, this person is sick, but they just played in this game, had a big result, and we won the game. I mean, this is a 60-game season. This is a sprint more than a marathon. Every game means so much. So we're losing a player for 2 or 3 weeks because they're sick. I do wonder, and I do get concerned that if this is going to be something that's not publicly disclosed, if this information is going to be something that's basically going to be hush-hush under the rug, will some teams try to take advantage, not give truthful results, and therefore put jeopardize the entire league finishing? Because now if you don't know who's sick and who's not, it makes it that much harder to pinpoint the source, pinpoint the spreader, try to figure out if they spread it to other teams or not, and prevent the virus from spreading to other teams, which obviously would be the biggest reason why the league would shut down, just because it's rampant all around the league. The main goal for MLB for this season is just finishing. That's it. Doesn't matter who wins. Doesn't matter if you have an exciting year or a boring year. There's only one goal, is to finish this season. Play the postseason, get a World Series champion, crown them. Revealing test results, telling everyone and being on the same page with everyone, this person's positive, be heads up. This person's positive, everyone, if you came in contact, let's get tested, let's try to figure out, let's isolate those who may have come in contact, may have had the virus without knowing it. To me, making these results public is the first step in that direction. Being transparent will help the league try their best to make sure everyone is healthy as much as possible, as much as you can be, and prevent an outbreak that would shut the league down. Not to mention, this is another reason. Brian Cashman said it himself. Baseball, you're going to know who has it and who doesn't pretty quickly. If there's a player, an everyday player, who all of a sudden for 3, 4, 5 games in a row is not on the field, not in the dugout, not with the team, and no explanation is given, it's just a vague, you just have a few things working out for him, we're going to find out. It's not that hard to put 2 and 2 together. Players out even with the team. Even injured players travel. Or if an injury happens, they pull a muscle, they hurt their arm, they hurt their shoulder, you see it happen in front of you. So sure, well, if you don't see an injury happen, all of a sudden now the player is not playing for 3, 4, 5 games, not even on the team, not even going to the stadium, it's not that hard to insinuate he probably has corona. Or they're fearful that he has corona, waiting for test results. So it's not like, it's going to be that hard to figure out. It's like in the NFL where, you're playing once a week, so maybe you can get away with a player missing a game or two. You can say something else, and it's not all, not that big of a deal. You're going to find out pretty quickly because baseball, you play every day. So you're going to know pretty quickly who's playing, who's not. If someone's not there on the bench for a few days in a row, it's not that hard to say, that person's sick. And not to mention, third and finally here, sometimes, even with this pandemic, right, as we know, it's affected the entire world, affected every region, but some regions have been hit harder than others, right? New York, Florida, Texas, California have been hit harder than, let's say, South Dakota or Montana or Idaho. Some areas, feel it worse than others. So if you don't really see it every day, if you hear about it, but it's happening, if you're living in Idaho or Montana, let's say, that's happened all the way in New York, we're fine out here. You're in Nebraska, California, that's so far away, we're safe out here. Sometimes it takes something coming to your back door for you to take the virus seriously. And whether, you're a big baseball fan living in Nebraska and your favorite player all of a sudden gets sick now, God forbid, it could help raise public awareness. Could really help for some people to crystallize that this virus is real. This is not something to be messed around with, and they should take it seriously. I know for me personally, I can give my own experience because this happened to me. The coronavirus started coming into the U.S. I did not take it seriously. I'll be completely honest. Thought, okay, people, just don't be dumb, and you won't get it. It's not that big of a deal. And then you see it spreading pretty quickly. And for me, it honestly took me till Rudy Gobert got sick and the NBA shut down that night for me to actually take the virus seriously. Wow, this is something that, isn't a joke. This isn't something that we can just kind of roll our eyes at or brush off or, this won't come here. This won't affect me. So to be completely honest, it took until someone in sports and the sports league shut down for me personally to take the virus seriously back in March. Now, I hope everyone at this point, now that we're in July, sees how severe this is, and it's not a joke. But fortunately, there's some people out there that don't take it seriously. I just call it for what it is. So maybe by publicly divulging information that, this star player, Mike Trout, Pete Alonso, Aaron Judge, Mookie Betts, they have it. Maybe that's a wake-up call for some people to be like, wow, this is serious. Maybe it's time for me to wear a mask or stay 6 feet away or do more to make sure that I'm keeping myself and my family safe. That's why, to me, I think it's imperative and important that Major League Baseball and all these other sports that are trying to come back do publicly divulge who is sick and who is not. I understand HIPAA laws are the biggest reason preventing this. But I think in a situation where the coronavirus, we're in a pandemic, this specifically only applies to the coronavirus. Nothing else. No other health issues should be revealed. Just the coronavirus, and the coronavirus, only if you test positive for it. I really do think it should be made public. I think it helps the league be transparent. It prevents teams from trying to keep it hush-hush for a competitive advantage. And more importantly, doing so, keeping it hush-hush, to me, only hurts MLB's chances of getting a full season and not helps it. Which, at the end of the day, should be the only goal for Major League Baseball. Get the season done. Crown a champion. It's been ugly, as we know, to even get baseball back on the field, to even get to where we are, to where training camp starts tomorrow, summer camp starts tomorrow. Think about it. Players will be on the field tomorrow, hitting and going in batting practice, fielding ground balls, catching fly balls, throwing bullpens. For us to get where we are on July 3rd, from where we started when this virus started, it's been very ugly for baseball. The last thing they need now is to be reckless, is to have speculation kind of ruin the sport, and this cloud that we don't know who's sick and who's not be the reason that outbreaks happen in the sport and that, unfortunately, baseball can't finish and can't resume. So I'm curious to get, that I hope MLB does actually, in other sports, I should say, sorry, do make it public. We will see. I think it's for them, it's in their best interest to do so. But again, we will see as we go forward. I hope they're not secretive about it. To me, it makes the most sense and the best way for them to get the season all in and complete. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Morning Boys. We do congratulate, as we see on Facebook. Emery Schmidt writes in, great job, Lauren. She crushed it, as she absolutely did. 4 to 5, Lauren will be in the playoffs. 2020 Apocalypse playoffs will start. I'm sorry, not on Monday. It will start next Thursday. I'm out on Monday. I apologize. So we'll have no show on Monday. Everyone, enjoy the holiday weekend. Please stay safe. Please wear a mask. It's not that hard. It's really not that uncomfortable. It helps not only yourself, it helps everyone around you, and it also helps to make sure that we are going in the right direction, not the wrong direction, because guess what? The last thing us or anyone wants is to go back into quarantine, is to shut everything back down again, and the small freedom we have now to get taken away and basically spend the rest of our summer indoors without anywhere to go. So if you're going to do whatever you're doing this weekend, please stay safe. Please wear a mask.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.